Right, I'm going to address the bullshit press conference that NASA put out last night regarding 3i Atlas. I, along with many other people, tuned in expecting to learn some new information and finally be able to walk away saying, yes, it's a comet, right? All they did was repeat the narrative, repeat the information that they'd given us, and released images that, quite frankly, were just absolutely ridiculous. I could have got a better picture on my iPhone, probably. They were awful. Yeah, the amateur astronomers, Dobsonian Power, they're doing way better jobs at putting out images than what they gave us last night. Not only that, they didn't address any of the anomalies, right? Really, with any substantial information and data to suggest this thing is indeed a comet and not artificial, as Avi Loeb has suggested. And a lot of us think so too. Yeah, so the one thing they did address was the carbon dioxide, right? And I'll close in on this because what they said and the science doesn't match up on this, and I'll tell you why. When a comet sublimates, right, so when it gets close to the sun, it starts to warm and then it releases gases and bits of debris, and that's where you get this huge tail from, right? That's what a comet does. For a comet to start sublimating, it needs to be close enough to the sun, so the sun will heat it, okay? 80% of 3i Atlas's coma was seen as carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide wouldn't and doesn't start sublimating until it is beyond the orbit of Mars, close enough to the sun, yeah? So closer to the sun than Mars is. When we picked this thing up and when they first started telling us about its coma being riddled with carbon dioxide, it was way before the orbit of Mars, way out there. So basically what that means is it wasn't hot enough to sublimate carbon dioxide. So it was throwing out carbon dioxide before it should have done. And they didn't address that. They just said, yes, carbon dioxide is normal in a comet's coma. Yes, it is. As soon as it gets close to the sun, but it hadn't. So basically, they just fucking lied. I'm sorry for the language, but they pissed me off because they didn't give us anything, right? The 2nd of October, yeah, our 3i Atlas passed its closest to Mars. That was when we apparently were going to get the best images, the most high-res images that would have essentially put this thing to bed. Yeah, so we've been waiting now since the 2nd of October. It's now what, 20th of November? So what's that, 6 weeks-ish? Something like that? 6 weeks they've had to process data and come up with information and answers. Instead, yeah, it's like these are the most, supposedly, these are the specialists in this field, right? There was a panel of 4 people who have had 6 weeks to prepare to debrief the world who was watching. And they sat there, and it looks like they were given the speech that day. They sat there and they read it off the teleprompter, word for word, muddling it up and messing up and falling over their own words. It's like they got given the speech that day. It just doesn't make sense. Not only that, right, and this is the final nail in the coffin for me. I don't know if you watched Sean Ryan. Chase Hughes was on there. This is a former CIA operative. His job was to teach the CIA and Spec Ops how to conduct PSYOPs, all right? And he generated a 20-point questionnaire, basically, to define if a media outlet or an organisation is trying to control you and manipulate your thoughts via a PSYOP, right? It's a 20-point questionnaire. And I ran the NASA narrative through it, the 3i Atlas narrative, I ran it through. His 20-point, this is CIA operative, the man that used to teach the CIA how to conduct PSYOPs. I ran it through his questionnaire and it came back as a PSYOP. This entire thing. All right, and by the way, I will caveat this now. TikTok, this is for entertainment purposes only, okay? Nothing that I say in this is real and it's all for entertainment, right? You know, it's a PSYOP. This whole thing's been a PSYOP. They've set us up from start to finish. They're just gaslighting us and feeding us shit, basically. And the only people who are doing anything about it are the amateur astronomers, the people, and even Avi Loeb to an extent. You know, he's the one putting his head above the parapet, and they're already discrediting him about it, which is, again, one of the questions on the PSYOP. They're discrediting people. They discredited him. So we're seeing this. You know, like I said, if you don't believe me, get the Chase Hughes 20 questionnaire out and run it through yourself. The thing's a PSYOP. The whole thing stinks to high heaven. NASA released a load of shit yesterday. They gave us nothing. It's a joke. The jury is still out for me on whether this is a comet or whether it's artificial. But I tell you what, this will continue. The mystery deepens for me. Nothing's been solved. Take care, guys. Have a good one.